All right, welcome back in. Just another football show, another wild card weekend preview. Talking to some fans and guys, we're going back old school. We're kicking it with a couple day one-ish fans.
Day one-ish, season one-ish.
These are
Season one.
season one fans. Got the Bears Saints matchup coming at you this weekend. Who else could we talk to? The list of Bears fans that we have is fucking endless.
Did you want us to dive into who else to make
So
these
there's
guys
a
feel
lot,
bad?
but it's been a while since we talked to Adam.
Yeah.
So we had to get Adam on the phone. We haven't talked to him for a couple seasons, I think. We didn't talk to him at all this season. I don't know that we talked to him last season.
Back in
Maybe
2019.
preview.
Yeah,
it's been since 2019. So had to get Adam on, talk some Bears, and then Fez is our go-to Saints fan. He's done it and seen it all.
He's
Seen
locked
all
that
of
one up.
these
Yeah.
playoff heartbreak. Who else could we bring on? He's gonna join us. He's gonna help preview this matchup. Gonna get some thoughts, some predictions.
Given the Saints' recent run in the postseason, I'm surprised Fez still wants to.
You're not
hop on
wrong.
and
Maybe
do
he might
these.
blame us for this.
Yeah.
That's not a
Gotta switch it
terrible
up.
thought
Gotta
process.
switch it
Yeah.
up.
Shit.
I have no effect on the football games.
No.
I think I'm effectless, but
Maybe. Who knows? Jesus.
But if you're a fan of a team and superstitions weigh heavily on you, Casey changes his jerseys out left and right. I still wear a tattered C.J. Beathard T-shirts under my jerseys when every 49ers game.
I was very upset. I went over to my father-in-law's house and watched that Chiefs-Falcons game. I didn't take a change of jersey with me. I sweat it out.
Sweatered it out.
I stared at my Tyrann Mathieu jersey and went, do I take this with me? Because I was wearing the Lev Bell. I didn't do it, and I sweated out. So superstition is absolutely a thing.
So maybe
but
this is the last time we talk to Fez,
it's possible.
given how this game shakes
I
out.
think we'll talk to him again next week, but we'll see.
China Fez, right?
Make sure. What? Yeah, that's a different thing.
It's
Making
jersey
sure that we make sure you guys are sharing this. Make sure you guys are getting your friends in. We're trying to get maybe a little taste of what we got going on here. We've said it a few times. I'm sure you're sick of it at this point, but
it's like
appreciate
a mini
it.
pod. It's like
It's
a
absolutely
mini
it's a mini pod, yeah, and it's absolutely free
It's like the
for
mini
you
waffle
to
maker
hit that
everyone got.
share button to let your friends know, hey, this is these guys are having some fun over here. Check them out. Join them. We're going to preview all of the games for the playoffs. We're going to continue doing this on this medium. We're going to have them out on Facebook, on YouTube, all over the place. Just make sure you guys are joining us. We're having some fun. So a lot of hard work going in. We appreciate everyone who is giving us the time for the listens and the likes. So, geez, is it that time already? Time to get
to
to
it.
It's game time.
yeah, let's get Adam on the phone, right? Or on the Skype machine. Adam's going to join us via the Skype machine. He's professional.
Is
and
that
shit.
also on the blower?
It is. Let's get Adam on the blower right now. All right, so for those of you who have been with us for a hot minute,
Since day one-ish.
since day one-ish, that first week, me and Ryan were talking about it today. The first week, when we first launched the podcast, first did team previews, we got to do NFC North first. That's where we're located. It was probably the first episode. If it wasn't, it was the second because we bounced everything around. Adam, Bears fan, guy, you're Bears in the playoffs. How are we feeling?
How are we feeling? Let's see. To be completely honest, not feeling all that optimistic,
Fair?
but
That's fair.
because when they lost to the Packers, got manhandled by the Packers. I'm just feeling defeated, even though they're in the playoffs. And I sat back and I thought, well, as a football fan, you want one of two things. You either want your team in the playoffs, or you want to have good draft position. And obviously the Bears aren't going to get good draft position having 8 wins. So it's like, well, at least they're in the playoffs, so you get something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're maybe looking at things on somewhat of an optimistic side. I don't know. I can't tell. I'm having a tough time reading you here. Yes, you mentioned that they kind of got throttled, for a lack of a better term, by
close for a
Rodgers.
while.
It was very close for a while. At one point, I messaged these guys and said, the Bears were playing almost inspired football, especially on defense. They looked really sharp, really amped up, and then, Rodgers and them, they just won't be denied, and then that's what it is. One big thing here that I think, if you're looking at the Chicago Bears team going into a playoff push here, that I think you can be positive about is the emergence of David Montgomery. We've known about David Montgomery for a while, being where we are here located, and have been calling for more usage out of him seemingly week after week, majority of last season, and up until about halfway through this season when he got going. So how are you feeling about this sudden emergence of an actual run game for the Bears?
it's amazing what happens when they actually started using him more, isn't it? We've all been calling it for more, like you said, and they finally started using him more. I feel like it kind of has to do with the change in the play caller going from Matt Nagy to Bill Lazor, and I feel like Lazor started using Montgomery more, and it's I feel like that's what's going to give them a chance. If you can run the ball with David Montgomery and keep Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara, if he plays, if you can keep them off the field, you're going to have a chance. Down, especially playing down in New Orleans. So yeah, that's the biggest turnaround. In the second half of the season is the emergence of the run game. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that Matt Nagy handed play calling duties off. Maybe hey, take a little bit away from me. Let's me focus on the rest of the team, which I think is what he said when he did all that.
That's
sort
what
of
the coaches usually
yeah,
say.
coach speak. Another thing that sort of shifted right around that time is Mitch Trubisky was given his job back. I think with Trubisky back there under center, I think that actually helps David Montgomery out because Trubisky's also known to, create opportunity with his legs. That seems to be his bread and butter. If you can get him out and sort of out on the edge there, making things happen, that opens up. Now with, as a Nick Foles, you're kind of, I don't want to say
he's not moving.
Yeah, he's not moving, and I don't want to say you were a one-dimensional football team, but it kind of clamped everything down as you could focus on one guy running the football as opposed to now you have that dual threat in the backfield. How do you feel about the way this season went at the quarterback position? Were you happy with the change at the time they made it? And are you happy now with the fact that it's Trubisky? And how long do you think it's going to be Trubisky?
I'm actually pretty unhappy with how they handled the quarterback play all year long. I think they pulled Trubisky too early. I thought they hung with Nick Foles too long. It took them too long to go back to Trubisky. But you're absolutely right though. Trubisky actually helps them because of his athleticism. With Nick Foles at quarterback being a statue, you can put 8 in the box. Against David Montgomery in the run game. Whereas if you have Mitch Trubisky on the field, you can't necessarily put it in the box, or you have to put a spy on the quarterback to make sure he doesn't take off, which can help the run game. So, I'll be completely honest. I've always been a Trubisky guy, even in the darkest times. I want him to succeed, and not just because, the Bears traded up to draft him number 2 overall. It's just he has such good physical quarterback abilities. It's like he can be a good quarterback if he can just get the decision making down. It would be night and day. So I don't know how I feel about a 1-game playoff with Trubisky under helm. I like it a lot better than Nick Foles. Long term, boy, that's really hard to say. Trubisky played better once he got the starting job back. Has he played good enough to deserve another contract? I don't know. He's played good, but is good deserving of another contract at the quarterback position? I was watching a post-game show on the NBC Sports channel out of Chicago. Lance Briggs, Alex Brown, those guys break down each game. And a guy suggested if you can get Trubisky back at a contract like what the Raiders gave Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
It was something like 2 years, $18 million. If Trubisky is willing to come back for that, maybe you do a 1 or 2 year deal just to see, but you still have to draft or go find another quarterback just in case Trubisky's not the one. But yeah, there's just so many question marks at the quarterback position for the Bears, and that might end up being the downfall. If he doesn't make if he makes 1 or 2 bad game decisions, it's going to cost them against the Saints.
Yeah, and I think part of the downfall of Trubisky has been that some of his worst games have been in prime time, so everyone sees it. Then it's a little bit of a national joke and tongue in cheek and everything about it. he did. I've talked about on the show a bunch that he came in as a 1-year starter, so that sets him behind. But I think a lot of his future depends on what happens in this game against the Saints, right? If he goes in the Saints and maybe if they win, that'd be fantastic. They're 9.5-point underdogs right now, so Vegas doesn't think that'll happen. But if he wins and gets them a couple games or a game or two into the playoffs, that could have a big impact on his career or his life with the Bears. If he looks good in a losing effort, that could still get, we're talking about a 1 or 2 year deal.
There's a world where he's standing on the sideline after the game talking to the reporter, giving us the "no one believed in us" speech.
He's eating the
no one,
turkey
but
leg,
in this time in the locker room believed. I mean, it's not happening,
Yeah.
but it could.
It absolutely could, and that's why they play the games. Trust me,
This is true.
The Saints are not overlooking the first round of the playoffs. The Saints are doing whatever they can to get rid of any kind of negative voodoo surrounding, especially down there in the Superdome.
This is true.
Because it's just eating them alive. So if any team can kind of upset them or take them by surprise, I think it's this Bears team. But doing it the ways that we've talked about, with David Montgomery getting the lion's share of touches, Mitch Trubisky using his legs, and something that we didn't see against the Packers, but we had seen quite a bit the few weeks before, Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson came out here with a bit of an egg. I think he had 36 yards against the Packers, but he was averaging roughly 100 yards per game before, and he was the go-to guy on third down. So, Adam, do you think that the lack of Allen Robinson in the game against the Packers was because of the fantastic corner for the Packers, Jair Alexander, or do you think it was just Mitch not finding him and looking for other guys?
No, I think it's 100% the Packers just game planned to take Allen Robinson out of Mitch trying to find him, and it's just, thankfully Mooney, stepped up, before he got injured, and Cole Kmet, made some good catches. He had a questionable fumble and everything, but other receivers were stepping up in the absence of Allen Robinson. But in the terms of playoffs, you have to get your number one receiver going. You have to. If the Saints are able to take away Allen Robinson, I see the game ending up a lot like what the Bears-Packers game ended up being. The Bears hung with them. It was a game at halftime, but then it just unraveled in the second half.
Aaron Rodgers overdrive. It just happens.
Yeah, it happens to the best of them.
It happens against the Bears.
A lot. Well, at least twice a year, sometimes once. On the flip side of things here, you look at a defense that on paper should be really good and has played very, very well at parts of the season, and there's been other stretches, injuries and stuff like that have sort of led to that, but other times where they've been kind of cold, a little bit off. We don't know at this moment if Alvin Kamara is going to be playing on this game Saturday? Sunday. Okay, so he's got an extra day in there to get out there on the field. The Saints have a lot of weapons. We've seen them sort of hit or miss throughout the season, but when they are together and clicking, can be very trouble. How do you think this defense stacks up against this New Orleans offense?
To me, it all depends on who plays. If Alvin Kamara plays, obviously Michael Thomas. But on the flip side, on the Bears defense, they have to get healthy. Jalen Johnson has missed a couple games. Buster Screen's been out. With a concussion, and he's their nickel back. And, if those two guys are out and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara play, I think it gets ugly real quick. And then you kind of go back to Trubisky having to play catch up. And he did that, at the beginning of the season. Can he do it in a playoff game? So the Bears defense versus the Saints offense, right here, right now, to me, it's all about who ends up being healthy and available to play. If the Bears' key guys are out, Hicks has been in and out this year with injuries. If he were to get injured, that'd be game over.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we've seen that this year with him out. It kind of, and we saw it at the end of the year last year too, with Hicks out. Then people are focusing more on Mack, and it just kind of shuts down the pass rush. Having guys like Jalen Johnson and Buster Screen corners and like your nickelback guy, like you said, that's kind of bad, right? That's the basic way to put it. Is that's real bad against a Saints defense or a Saints offense that when it's clicking, it's one of the most efficient groups in the league. So I think you're absolutely right. It depends who plays, right? It depends on the health of guys like you pointed out, Akeem Hicks and Jalen Johnson. It looks like Roquan Smith is currently listed as questionable as well. That'd be a big blow to the Bears defense that they just can't really haven't really seen the backup step up and play at the level of the starters. So obviously it's an uphill battle. Like I said, the spread right now is 9.5 points with the New Orleans being the heavy favorite, but New Orleans has been bitten in the playoffs. They've been getting out early, getting out late, getting bad calls, getting good calls. So I think that it could end up being a lot closer. How do you feel about the momentum going in for the Bears? Because they did have the Packers loss, right? But that's one of the best teams in the league. That's the Packers, your old rival that's kind of beat up on you for a little while. But a good 3-game win streak before that. So do you think the Bears are going to be able to kind of get that momentum going again? Because they're certainly going to need it.
To get that momentum going, and I completely agree with everything you said, Ryan, but to get that momentum going, they have to strike right away on their first drive. Whether they get the ball first or not, they have to strike right away to get the points going.
Yeah, you don't want to fall behind to Breeze early.
Exactly. And because that's the thing is, it's one thing to play catch up, against the Lions and against the Falcons like the Bears did, in the first couple of weeks of the season with Trubisky and then with Foles at quarterback. You're not playing catch up with Drew Brees.
Yeah, everyone plays catch up with the Falcons.
Yes.
Yep, catch up, run past them.
And a thought I just had, one guy that has to show up for the Bears defense is Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
He has to get going. He had some good spots this year, some good games, but overall this season, he was not the help. Has not been the help the Bears needed, to put opposite Khalil Mack. So, like Ryan said, Roquan Smith being injured, and all the other injuries we went over, Robert Quinn has to step up and help get pressure on Drew Brees. Otherwise, again, I'm trying to remain optimistic. I'm preparing myself for this to be a blowout.
You are talking like a true Bears fan.
True Bears fan.
True Bears fan. Never a doubt in my mind.
I laugh at the Robert Quinn thing because of you, I end up following a bunch of Bears people on Twitter, and they all hate Robert Quinn. Or they all point out his contract and how little he's doing. They show that I've seen gifs of him loafing around the field on big plays. So for you to bring him up as he's a guy who needs to step up, absolutely. What I hear echoed across the board from all of the Bears different Twitter accounts and the whole universe of Bears fans that I interact with on the internet. But you said you are having a hard time being optimistic. There's one thing I know that you can be optimistic about, especially you, is the kicking game for this Bears team has been off the charts. Right? A virtual rarity for this Bears team.
Why'd you have to say it, Ryan? Why'd you have to say it?
I just said it's been good.
You put it out there.
I didn't put out the numbers yet. That's the football gods don't like that, but it's been really well. Really good. Cairo Santos has been playing well. Do you think you've found your kicker, and do you think you've gotten past the snake bitten nature of the Chicago kicker?
Double doink, or was it triple doink?
That's a really good question because the Bears brought Santos in before week 1 this year because Eddie Pinheiro was injured with a hip injury, and he's just been out all year. He was week to week all season long, and I don't know if the Bears are just going to stick with Santos or if they plan on going back to Pinheiro or anything. But, it's gotten to the point where Santos comes on to the field for a field goal. I'm not exactly holding my breath. It's kind of relaxing, and going to go play in a dome, for a playoff game, that's even more relaxing, especially in a dome where there aren't going to be fans or mini fans to really try to rile things up. So, if there's one thing that I can be positive about is the Bears kicking situation, and still knock on some wood, but I feel comfortable, more comfortable than I did 2 years ago against the Eagles.
Yeah.
For the guy that shall remain nameless.
Yeah, we're a couple of years departed from open kicking contest that like the radio station stuff are putting on from the Bears. That seems so long ago now. To have a guy that's
I heard quarterback contest was coming up next.
Woof.
woof. Yeah, woof indeed.
Well, to kind of just group it all together, what we talked about, we talked about Trubisky, is he going to get another contract with the Bears? I could see him possibly getting a new contract, if he plays well enough in a loss. If he has the Bears, within a score late in the fourth quarter, that could earn him a new contract. But if he has them within, 2-3 points, bring in Santos to either kick a go-ahead field goal late in the game or a game-tying field goal to send it to overtime. This game hinges on a lot for so many players, not just for this postseason, but going forward for a lot of them.
Yeah, it could be a big impact for years on this Bears team.
Indeed. All right, Adam. You know the rules. We need you to pick this game for us. I know you said you're not very optimistic. Give me a final score and who you got coming out of this particular game. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Gosh, it's so hard to predict. I mean, if the Bears offense of the last couple of weeks show up and show that they can put up 30 points or so, maybe they'll be right in there. But my initial thought prediction is I see the Saints winning something like 34-20, but the score doesn't even feel like the score seems closer than the game's going to feel like. It's going to feel like the Saints are just taking care of business up and down the field all game long.
Yeah, I could see it. Wouldn't argue with you on that one. So, well, if your Bears do manage to shock the world and get to at the end of the game say the whole thing about no one believing in them, including us on this podcast, maybe they'll call us out. I doubt it. Then we'll be giving you a call next week.
Trubersky doesn't listen to outside influences. No
true.
TVs turned off. No audio, no radio,
well,
no podcast.
Not going to call us out then. I guess that's the case. But, go ahead.
If Trubisky comes out and says no one believed in us and everything, I'll be the first one to say, I was that guy, Mitch. I'm sorry. I'll say that ahead of time if the Bears win.
There you go. That's fair. All right, we got to move on. We got to get our Saints fan on the line here. we got to see what he has to say. As gun shy in the playoffs as they are, we'll see how that goes. But Adam, we always appreciate the time. We look forward to talking to you next time.
Hey man, thanks for having me back, guys. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime. All right, so now we got to get Fez on. We got to get the rebuttal, so to speak, the other side. We talked to Bears fan Adam. Now OG fan. We tried to go away from him once, and last minute had to call him. So I've never tried to go away from him since. Buddy Fez,
Good.
Fez, how is it going, sir?
Hi, hey, oh, hi, ho, hi, ho.
So
it's going.
I have to ask. I know you probably never say it out loud, but and I've said it to one or two other people. You gotta feel, I guess maybe not as a Saints fan with the way that the postseason's gone for you guys in the past few seasons. There's been some just bad bounces of the ball, as it were, to get you guys out of the postseason. But I think you gotta feel pretty decent about your draw here in having the Chicago Bears come to town.
Limp in,
back into that spot, as it were. How you feeling about your wild card weekend matchup?
Well, as far as this week goes, I heard some injury news. I don't know how much validity behind it is. Validity, yes.
I've only had 3 beers, so that's the only reason I was able to say that.
With Montgomery and Roquan Smith, at least from what happened yesterday. I have a buddy of mine who's also a Bears fan and says that that Montgomery is playing with the ACL injury, not sure if it's torn or not. And then Roquan Smith also dislocated his elbow.
Yeah, Roquan Smith is questionable right now. Yeah.
So I mean, as far as it goes, I mean that you guys already know the history behind this Bears defense. So when key players like that are out, that's big. And let's put forth to example what happened with Minnesota when they were missing 3 linebackers in general, and Kamara had his day.
Yeah.
So I like buying chances, obviously, but I guess we could say I don't know, because the Bears were actually playing very well until they played the Packers. So
Yeah,
I
you,
really,
you could probably say
I
that
really
about a lot
wonder.
of teams playing really well until they had to play Green Bay.
They were playing well when they played bad teams. I think
Yeah.
is really what it boils
Yeah,
down to.
and
I'll say it.
you know
Yeah, you like
that
to say
that
that.
makes me
Adam's not on the
wonder
line. I'll
just-
say it.
But this
that makes
is
me wonder who's going to show up on Sunday.
this is a rematch of a game we had at the beginning of November that went to overtime. It took a very late kick for New Orleans to eke out the victory there, 26-23. And that was a game that was a lot closer. It was kind of in that stretch.
Was that
where
a Taysom Hill game or?
That was it was Nick Foles.
Okay, so.
Nick Foles, and it was Drew Brees, 280 yards for Drew Brees. Kamara was kind of on the lower end, but he did have 96 yards receiving. But it's a game that a lot of people didn't expect. A lot of people, I'm sure, when this game came around, we all picked the Saints to win.
We probably
and
laughed
ended up
about
winning,
it,
and
yeah.
laughed. Yeah, and it ended up being a lot closer. Now it's.
Yeah.
I think everyone would agree that the Bears are playing better with Mitch in the mix, and they got Montgomery going hard there too. So I don't think this is going to be the kind of easy slam dunk that other people might maybe.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And with how things have been going for New Orleans lately, you can't underestimate anybody.
Yeah, you don't want to underestimate anybody, especially given the Saints' recent playoff history. You want to come in here level-headed and expecting everything that this team could bring to the table. Also, you're in a situation where you've only had Drew Brees back a couple of weeks. Looked really shaky when you first got him back out there in that game against Kansas City. Kind of stepped up a little bit. Looked pretty good, since then, but still sort of testing the waters with Brees. You've seen a lot more Taysom Hill in the mix with Drew Brees than you did previously to Brees' injury. And now you've got Kamara coming off of having
Game of a lifetime.
Well, game of a lifetime, and then having COVID. So, I mean, it's up in the air as we speak to you right now. I'm going to put that out there. This will air later in the week, so maybe we know that he's playing or not. But not only does he lead your team in rushing, he also leads your team in receiving. So if he's not able to go, and Michael Thomas has been in and out of the lineup all season long, and when he's in, he hasn't really been a big factor, and then he's right back out dealing with nagging injuries here or there. So without Alvin Kamara, what does this team bring to the table? I mean, obviously a heavy dose of Emmanuel Sanders and, a lot of Taysom Hill on top of that. But if the Bears defense can sort of match that, what does Drew Brees have to fall back on in the Saints offense if there's no Alvin Kamara?
Ever since that Chiefs game, Drew Brees was slowly getting better since he was out. So obviously that Chiefs game was the worst one. And then going on to play the Vikings right after that, game plan wise, he didn't really need to throw that much just because of how vulnerable that Vikings defense was set up to be. I think that Alvin Kamara being out was, I hate to say it, but a blessing in disguise, because that kind of helped Drew Brees kind of warm up his guns a little bit. He's still practicing with practice squad wide receivers in Austin Carr, Marquez Callaway, and Juwan Johnson, all these no-name receivers that you guys have never heard of, and was playing fairly well. It was the Carolina Panthers, but when he gets people like Thomas and Kamara back, and I guess we can also say Latavius Murray can have a little bit of a factor in that as well, and he'll be ready to go from there.
Yeah, we've never
It gives
really seen this Saints team at full strength this year, have we? I mean, Michael Thomas
the
was in and out.
at least the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do think that this could be just what the team should have been, except they're getting it all at the beginning of the playoffs as opposed to the beginning of the year. So it
Right.
could be just absolutely deadly and devastate a Bears team that, like we pointed out, has a couple injuries that are a bit concerning. But I know Drew Brees has been up and down throughout the year. We talked about we had extensive conversations about Taysom Hill basically the entire year. But are you confident with Drew Brees being the quarterback through the playoffs for you?
I am. I really am. And that is, I think a little bit of it has to do with just a motivation of how this could be it. Because the rumors are getting stronger and stronger that this could be his last year. I'm on the side where I think he is going to retire.
You got Taysom
And
Hill. It's fine.
James Winston's
exactly.
around.
And my thing is just if this really is it, then you're going to have to play the games of your life going forward. The cards haven't been dealt that great to him, but he's making the most of it. And now that hopefully, potentially, he gets all his weapons back, then we have every reason to make a strong run.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you motivate this team after the last however many years in the playoffs have been like. We know that Sean Payton's brought in the big pallet of money and said this is what you get if you do that. But this team has to be just down on themselves a little bit. Know that the world is against them when it comes to playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're playing for Drew Brees now, okay, we're doing this for Drew Brees as opposed to trying to get your.
Don't go give him one of those win one for Drew.
Yeah,
speeches.
I'm just saying maybe that's the motivation that they need. Where in the years before it was things like Sean Payton on a bale full of money that they basically just lit on fire afterward.
He went full Joker on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if that's what it needs to be, then so be it. But I'm on the side where it'd be like, let's stop being embarrassed every year. We're playing every game, and we've lost every one of them on the last possession of the game. It's not just Drew Brees. I think it's more importantly with the defense as well. The leaders in the Mario Davis and Cam Jordan, those guys have to be sick from what's been happening every year. So they need to get those younger guys fired up, especially the younger guys have been there since it's all happened. It's obvious that they don't want to go through that again. So that's that fire that they need to put under their asses to get this done.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I know that we kind of talk about how getting the Bears, getting them limping in is a little bit of a not necessarily a pass, but you're getting a team that doesn't have that kind of momentum with them right now. The Saints, your Saints are coming off of two huge games, 52 against the Vikings, 33 against the Panthers, with adversity in both those situations and just plowing through. So do you think you have good momentum going into this wild card weekend?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. And it'll be nice to have all the guys back as well. Hopefully, I don't even know how these COVID protocols work or how they predict the dates and times on when they're eligible to return. But, it'll be good to have Kamara back in there and Thomas as well, if they can get them off IR, which I think they will, but I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I believe COVID protocols are 2 negative tests within 48 hours of each other.
Just don't need anything bad, nothing bad happen.
But even if Kamara, he's a world-class athlete, and we've seen him play a lot of numbers and put up a lot of numbers and points. You've seen players come off of having this virus and just not play up to snuff. Is there any concern that if he is in there, maybe he's not the Alvin Kamara we saw 2 weeks ago? Maybe he's still dealing with some lingering issues from COVID. And at a certain point, you're trotting him out there and you're trying, and it's almost a detriment to your football team. Is there any concern that this isn't going to be 100% Alvin Kamara to a point where we might have to start looking elsewhere, maybe get Latavius Murray more involved?
That's always something to think about, but I don't believe it'll be that much of an issue because I've seen other players have that kind of same situation as well. Like most recently, I saw Myles Gaskin on his first game back on when he was activated from the COVID list, and he went off for 33 fantasy points from what I remember in that Raiders game, I believe.
Yep.
And I can't just compare. I'm comparing Myles Gaskin to Alvin Kamara, but the mindset of playoffs and getting your body right, ready to go, that always has to sit in with everybody, and I'm confident. I'm confident Alvin can get that figured out.
Sorry, I'm getting signals over here as I'm trying to multitask. All right, Fez, we're gonna cut you. We're gonna cut it down. We're gonna get to the end here. You know how this works. We got to get a guess from you, a prediction, as it were. Give me a final score. How do you think this one ends up? Are you going to be talking to us next week? That's the important question.
I'm going to always go with my boys, and I will see you guys next week. Prediction on a score, I'm going to say 38-17.
A whooping.
Yeah, I would cover the spread.
I guess we'll see.
I'll tell you, our Bears fan predicted 34-20 Saints. So
Yeah.
you're not that far off of his
you're-
prediction, honestly. So.
Yep.
Solid.
Little wider margin, but we'll be okay there. All right, Fez.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're correct, if your team wins, we'll be bugging you up on the old Facebook to join us again next week.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate the time as always, man.
Thanks, Fez.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too.
There it goes. We did it. We just keep rolling through these guys. We get them keep going.
Like Fred Durst.
Just rolling. I see what you did there.
If
I
you're
see what you
paying
did there. I
attention,
appreciate that.
If you were paying attention, and this is something that's kind of new in Iowa, that's been going around a lot. Both of our guys had the Saints covering the spread. The spread is 9.5 points right now. There are a number of sports books available now.
We're not officially sponsored by one yet, Ryan.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I mean,
I'm
I
just
get
saying-
you're trying, and I appreciate that from you. But
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you don't have to be there to do it. You can bet on these now. It's a nasty habit.
you
Unless
can
win, then it's
you
a great
can
habit.
hate yourself when you lose money.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can hate every second of watching a football game because you have $2 on the line.
But you can get a free $50 if you use promo code Jeremy. I'm not going to tell you where.
Try it everywhere.
Plug it in everywhere. See what happens. All right, guys. We got one more of these left. We're gonna come back later today. Talk that Browns-Steelers matchup, the Sunday night game, the final one.
It's my daughter's favorite TV theme song right now.
It's pretty good.
the Sunday Night
It's not
Football
bad.
song.
It's not a bad
Dun,
theme
dun,
song.
wait.
That's Monday night.
All right, Sunday night. Where
Get back
are
in
you?
town.
That's
I
the
don't
one.
know. Wait.
They
All right.
change the lyrics every time.
So-
it's hard to do.
Until a few hours from now, hopefully
Nothing
you
on
guys are.
Philadelphia.
If you're just catching us,
Schmilad-Belfia.
make sure that you're going back, checking out all these. We did one of these preview videos for all 6 playoff games this weekend. Share them around. Let people give us, we get a little listenership from these. Hopefully, is the goal. People maybe get a smaller soundbite in their ears and like what we're doing and decide to give us a shot full time. That's what we're going for.
It's a lot of work, but I do love talking to
It's
all
fun.
of the fans.
It's really fun. It is a lot of work.
and especially Wildcard weekend.
But we went
everyone's fired up.
we went the whole season, just us. We did the preseason, so with the fans, gotta get a little rest during the regular season. Just us hammering out episodes. We got some fans back on, so always fun time for 2 great fans and for these 2 fucksticks.
Yeah, I feel like I've done less with fans on than I normally do.
Well, it's helpful. They do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
This has been just another football show.
Bye.
See ya.
Act one.